Hey everyone, it's Nikki. Welcome or welcome back. I picked up this MDF mug from the Dollar Tree, removed the label, and then I grabbed this rice paper. I got this on Etsy and I'm going to use a glue stick to adhere this. I'm also going to keep this MDF faux cream here. I just think it gives a little movement. So I'm going to go a little more than half with my glue stick and just set that rice paper right into my glue and then burnish it with my hand. I have to admit, I'm really enjoying using glue sticks. You could totally use some Mod Podge for this. This is just my choice today. And then I'm going to take my little scalpel and cut out where the handle would be, and what wouldn't come out, I just tuck that into that little hole there. Then I use my palm sander to take off the excess paper, and I really think that helps everything adhere better. Then I grabbed this label. I have a whole sheet of them that I got on Etsy. It's rice paper, and I fussy cut it and then just burnished it down onto that really pretty paper. And then I'm going to take this MDF faux dripping cream detail because I love that it adds a bit of movement, as I mentioned earlier. But real life moment, I realized I glued down the wrong sign, and thankfully it lifted right up, and I replaced it with this hot cocoa label, and that other label we're going to use for the next project. Then I took my Fast and Final, put it in this piping bag, and began piping out my faux whipped cream. And I added some sprinkles that I got on Etsy. And I'm working in little sections. I used my nail dotting tool to press the sprinkles down into that frosting. Almost instantly, it hardens. So putting on the sprinkles, they kind of bounce right back off. So the nail dotting tool makes a big difference in getting those sprinkles on. I'm sorry, my voice is like extremely deep today. It's so dry in here. We're already running the heat here in my house. Yeah, it's cold. And lastly, I'm going to add more of those sprinkles and a couple of candy canes to the top. Oh, and I forgot, I added some brown puffy paint to look like chocolate drizzle. And that is it for this. I think it's super cute. I haven't done a DIY like this before. It's just so easy and fun. I love it. Let me know what you think. All right, before we move on to our next project, this video is a collaboration with my sweet friend Jette from Craft Along with Jay. She has quickly become one of my favorite people. I absolutely adore her, and she makes the sweetest, prettiest things. So be sure to check out her creativity. I'll be sure to have Jette's channel linked down below. All right, on to project number 2. I thrifted this sleigh from Goodwill, and I had painted it a mix of truffle, and then I went over it with the color Nutmeg by Apple Barrel. And I had it setting in my stash for a while. And remember that label that I had earlier? I had traced that out, and now I'm painting that the color white by Waverly, just so, the color pops in the sign. If I would have left it brown, it would have just kind of drowned in the brown. So I'm adding a little more of that glue stick to the back and setting that right down into that paint. Of course, the paint is dried, but I'm setting that right on top, and there's a little bit of the white you can see around the sides, and I think that's nice. It adds like a little bit of shadow. And then I added more of my spackle and just piped all the way around my sleigh and just made it all cutesy and pretty. And I mentioned earlier that those sprinkles came from Etsy. No, they actually came from Amazon in like a pack of, I think I have like 10, 15 of them. And I'm adding these pretty peppermint looking ones. And I'm not going to go overboard on this because I can easily get out of control with stuff like this. So I'm going to go a little light-handed on these sprinkles. And I think sometimes less is more. And I really like how this turns out. So I'm going to let you watch as I do all my piping and decorating. I thrifted this little resin wreath. I have a whole bag of different colors and using some of my Gorilla Hot glue to adhere that to the front of my sleigh. And off camera, I added a little gingerbread man to the side of my sleigh. And this is how it came out. I think it is just adorable. And as I mentioned earlier, I think less is more. I think it came out super cute. And of course, let me know what you think about this sweet little gingerbread sleigh. All right, on to project number 3. I got this tag at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to remove the label. And I should have made sure that I got rid of some of that glue, but I didn't. This, oh goodness, guys, this DIY was a pain in my neck, and I'm going to take you through the process. So I'm adding a little bit of the color plaster in the center, leaving like a border with my color red, and that is the color Cardinal, by the way, by DIY. Let that dry, and then I went over it with some Extreme Guard Satin by Paint Couture. And then I let that dry. These little gingerbreads are thrifted, and I'm painting them the color Nutmeg by Apple Barrel. And I do give them 2 coats and let those dry. I printed this stencil on my Cricut, and it went south real quick. I had let this dry for a few hours, and almost immediately I realized it's pulling up my paint, and this isn't going to work. You know, I've been down this road before, so I just tore it off, and you can see all the paint in the back, and used my scraping tool to get rid of those letters, and then went a little heavy in a few areas and stripped my paint right down. And I was like, okay, well, this is a bummer, but then I'm like, okay, well, maybe it adds to like that vintage feel that I absolutely love. So I sanded it down a little bit, and I do end up fixing some of those spots. This one really tested my patience. So then I printed this out on Canva and took my carbon copy paper and my nail dotting tool and began transferring these words over to my sign. And carbon copy paper is a lot of fun. It takes me back to, middle school when I used to scribble on the back of my paper and transfer over images and words. But for this, I'm using my black paint marker, and then look, a big gob dripped onto this, and I was like, oh no. So then I took a damp rag, tried to remove it. That didn't work, so I took out my color plaster and painted over that section, and then that little area you can see by the word tasty, where I scraped too much paint off. This should have been a very quick project, and it turned into be like 2 hours. It was a lot. So then once that dried, I was able to finish painting my word man, and then I went all around the sides with my palm sander, and then I also sanded down my little gingerbread men. And if I didn't mention earlier, those are thrifted. I've had them in my stash for a very long time. And the words are from Sammy Davis Jr.'s song Sweet Gingerbread Man. I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue to the back, and I like how that faux icing was on there because it gave a little bit of a lift to my gingerbread men. And I'm going to pipe more of that frosting on. And added these peppermints to the top. And I wasn't going to add a face to them, but I did add little beady eyes and a small smile. It just felt like something was missing, but I didn't want to go overboard where these are so small. I was afraid I was going to mess up the eyes, and I already had my icing on, so I just left it. And I wanted to add some greenery to the top, and I know one side has a lot of the white snow and the other side doesn't, but I just figured like our eyebrows are supposed to be sisters, not twins, and I think it looks super cute, and just adding a little different greenery and some little berries. And this I got last year at Hobby Lobby, 90% off, and then added this pretty bow. This I salvaged off an old project from last year, and then lastly added a candy cane. And even though this was a labor of love and I had lots of mess ups, I think it came out super cute. What do you think of this one? I have a quick recap of today's projects coming up, but I want to take a moment to say, if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. I'm working hard towards my goal of 2,000 subscribers by the new year. So if you're enjoying these projects, don't forget to like and comment. If you're returning, I just appreciate you coming back and seeing me and all your sweet comments. Don't forget to check out Jette. I'll have her link down below. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. Until the next one, bye.